Hi, friends. Thanks for joining me. Today, I just want to talk about a few things that you can avoid if you're trying to be a little bit healthier. If maybe you're starting your journey into reading nutrition labels and just want a very simple idea of where to start. This is just my own personal opinion. I don't really have any like basis for it other than just my own research and life experience. But here it is. I'm just going to give you some ingredients that you can avoid simply by looking at the nutritional label on a food label or a food label, looking in the ingredients section. So I won't have a ton of time to go in depth. So first, I want to point out the glycemic index. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. Um, Basically, it's an index showing the glycemic load of individual foods. So, for example, a piece of white bread has a very high glycemic load compared to, let's say, a soybean. And to put this in very simplistic terms, all it means is that um, the white bread versus the soybean is going to spike your blood sugar and be processed a lot more quickly in your body. And there's various reasons as to why that's not a good thing. But this video isn't going to cover that. I just want you to kind of understand this while we go into things. So, the first ingredient I want to talk about is because we talked about the glycemic index, is bread. Bread is an easy one to switch up, maybe. If you're stuck on the white bread, it might not be so much. But what you need to look for in a nutritional label for bread is whole grain flour. If it says anything else, it's not whole grain. So that white bread is going to be much higher on the glycemic index than whole grain bread or sprouted grain if you want to go even further. But that's a really easy one. You just look at the nutrition label, make sure it says whole wheat, and that's going to be a little bit healthier than that white bread. Anything that's really processed, that means that a lot of the nutrients have kind of been pulled apart, mashed back together. It's not really the um, whole grain. The second one is high fructose corn syrup. This is found commonly in soda, um, candy, all kinds of things today. Corn syrup is used a lot. High fructose corn syrup is especially not great on your body and should be avoided if possible. I mean, of course, it's possible, but should be avoided. I'm not going to ever tell anybody that you have to eat healthy or you have to do certain things. But if these are just things, if you're looking to avoid certain things or minimize, these are the things to avoid. So high fructose corn syrup in general. Corn syrup is highly processed and it has a very high glycemic load. The next one is uh, trans fats, or you can see this on the label as hydrogenated or hydrogenated oils or partially hydrogenated oils. I have looked and researched and tried to find out how they can put no trans fats on the nutritional labels of things that have hydrogenated oils, and I don't know because they are the same thing. A hydrogenated oil is a trans fat. It is a fat that has been modified and had basically excess hydrogens added to the chemical structure, which creates a trans structure instead of the normal structure, which is, I don't know, trapezoid or something. Chemistry is not my strong suit, but we know that this is not good for the body. Trans fats are not processed very well in the body, and they contribute to it. It's easier to gain fat while eating those things. So again, look on the label. If you see partially hydrogenated or hydrogenated oil, that would be a good one to avoid. This is commonly found in tons of processed chips, Cheetos, Little Debbie snacks, anything that is packaged and processed probably has that. The next one is dyes, food dyes. Why we have to put food dye in anything, baffles me. I don't know. Um, but that is one that should be avoided if possible. Some people are really sensitive to especially red and yellow dye and can even have adverse reactions. There have been studies showing that behavioral problems can happen in some children who have red dyes. So really, why? There's literally no purpose to ingest dye. So in my opinion, there's no reason to eat it, especially when we have natural alternatives like beet juice and turmeric and all these things that don't cause problems. So avoid that one. So again, usually this is at the bottom of the nutrient label. It'll say like Lake 40 or Red 50 or whatever. There's a bunch of them. You can kind of look for those. Next is artificial sweeteners. I realize that there are definitely reasons people use these. However, if you can avoid them, sometimes that's better because some have been shown to actually increase your abdominal fat and or been more likely to cause weight gain than even regular sugar. And there's a whole thing as to why this is. Again, there's not a lot of time to really go into it, but if you're interested, you can look it up. There are a few articles that explain why this actually contributes to weight gain. And then I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Those are probably the biggest things that I think of when I'm looking at nutritional labels and things that I want to avoid. A little further down the rabbit hole might be like some preservatives like nitrites and nitrates, and God, I can't remember, TBHQ. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry. Preservatives of certain sorts could be argued that it's not very good for you. So generally, packaged processed food is going to be higher glycemic, so it's going to be harder for your body to process. It's not going to give you as many nutrients as whole foods. Again, no judgment here. I feed my daughter hot dogs, so I know it's hard, but these are easy things that you can start looking into and researching and changing slowly. You could pick one thing. I always made sure to pick whole grain bread when I first really started doing stuff like this. So I hope that helps. I hope it gives you a starting point. And if you have any questions, of course, comment below. Subscribe to the channel if this is interesting to you. And I hope to see you next time.